My name is Tiffany Upton. At the family BBQ last Saturday, my little brother Ethan stood in the middle of the backyard, beer in hand, and announced to everyone with that smug grin, Tiffany will probably rent for the rest of her life, owning property, not in her future. Dad laughed and added loud enough for the neighbors to hear, yeah, being basically homeless suits. You just fine. Mom nodded, flipping burgers, and chimed in. Some people just aren't cut out for it, sweetie. 20 pairs of eyes turned to me, waiting for the usual embarrassment, the red face, the stutter. I gave them nothing. I just looked at Ethan, smiled small, and said, okay. Then I pulled out my phone, typed one single text to Harrison, hit send, grabbed my keys, and walked straight to my car. By the time I reached the driver's door, my screen already showed 20 missed calls, all from the same number. That was the exact moment the game changed forever, and they had no idea what was coming next. If you've ever had your own family count you out while smiling to your face, stay with me because the next 17 minutes are going to hit hard. Drop a like. If you're ready for the full story, hit that subscribe button with notifications on so you never miss one of these. And let's get into it. Sunday morning, my eyes weren't even fully open when my phone started blowing up with notifications. I've always been Tiffany Upton, the older sister who never quite fit the family picture. From the time I was 12, Mom and Dad made it clear Ethan was the one with the bright future, the varsity jacket, the full-ride scholarship offers, the corner office waiting for him the day he graduated. I was the quiet kid who worked nights at the college auto shop, came home smelling like motor oil, and got asked in front of guests why I couldn't just try harder like your brother. They never asked what I actually did after I dropped out of senior year of college. They assumed I was drifting, maybe waiting tables, definitely renting forever. I let them think that. What I really did was take every dollar I saved from fixing transmissions and buy my first failing Jiffy Lube franchise outside Atlanta for pennies on the dollar. The owner was drowning in debt and just wanted out. I turned it around in 9 months. Then I bought another. Then another. Right now, I own 15 quick-service garages spread across Georgia and South Carolina, all under holding companies no one in my family has ever heard of. Cash flow is steady, margins are fat, and I still drive a 10-year-old Civic because flashy cars bring questions I don't want to answer. 26 months ago, at 2:30 in the morning, Ethan called me sobbing so hard I could barely understand him. He'd just been walked out of the regional bank where he was assistant VP, some internal audit gone wrong, non-disclosure agreement, the whole mess. The mortgage on his 4-bedroom colonial was $4,200 a month, and his severance was already gone on a lease Porsche he couldn't return. Tiffany, he choked out, if Mom and Dad find out I'm ruined, they'll never look at me the same. Please, just until I'm back on my feet. I'll pay every cent back, I swear on my life. I was sitting on the floor of my 1-bedroom apartment, laptop open, looking at the numbers for garage number 11 I was about to close on. Something in his voice, the pure terror of losing the golden boy mask, hit me hard. He was still my little brother, even if he'd spent years treating me like background noise. So I set up the automatic transfer that same night. $4,200 on the first of every month, straight from the business account into his mortgage servicer. No paperwork, no interest, no questions. He promised it would be 3 months, maybe 6. I didn't argue. For the first year, he texted thank you every single month, always, with some new excuse why he still couldn't take over the payment himself. New certification courses market being tough, interviews that almost panned out. I never pushed, I just kept hitting confirm. By month 18, the thank you texts stopped coming. He got another banking job, lower title, lower pay, but enough to keep the lights on if he lived like a normal person. He didn't. Instead, he started posting pictures in front of the same house my money was keeping, captioned things like hard work finally paying off and living proof dreams come true. I saw every single one. I never liked, never commented. I just kept the money flowing. 26 months went by and I never missed a single transfer. Ethan used that money like it grew on trees. 6 months in a brand new Ford F-150 Raptor showed up in his driveway, matte black 35-inch tires, the kind of truck that costs more than most people make in a year. He posted it from every angle with the caption, "Finally treating myself after grinding so hard." I scrolled past while eating cold pizza in my apartment. Weekends became his country club era. Every Saturday and Sunday he was on the coarse polo shirt tucked in, swinging a driver that probably cost $2,000. He'd tag the same 3 buddies in every story, drinks on the cart, sunset over the 18th hole, living my best life written across the screen in white text. I saw the charges hit the joint credit card monitoring app we still shared from years ago. Greens fees, bar tabs, pro shop purchases, all while my account quietly covered the roof over his head. He started hosting cookouts at the house my transfers paid for. Photos of him behind a massive stainless steel grill, steaks the size of dinner plates, friends raising beers to the camera. One caption read, "Paid this place off early, feels good to own something real." Over 200 likes poured in. Old high school teammates, coworkers, even Dad commented 3 fire emojis. I stared at that one the longest. He bragged in the family group chat about knocking out the principal on the mortgage, how smart he'd been locking in that low rate, how the bank practically begged him to refinance. Mom replied with a string of heart eye emojis. Dad sent a voice note saying how proud he was that at least one of his kids got it right. I left the chat on read. Some nights he'd post late, obviously drunk, shirt unbuttoned, standing on the back deck overlooking the yard he never mowed himself. "Grateful for every sacrifice that got me here," he wrote once. I screenshotted it, saved it in a folder labeled receipts, then approved the next $4,200 payment without a word. He bought a boat, a 24-foot center console he trailered to Lake Lanier every other weekend. Pictures of him wakeboarding, rope in one hand, beer in the other, bikini-clad girls laughing on the bow. "Living the dream I built," the caption said. "I paid for the slip rental that kept it floating." He told our cousins at Thanksgiving that he'd crushed it in crypto and that paid the house off years early. Told Dad's golf buddies he flipped a couple commercial deals on the side. Told Mom's book club he'd been promoted twice in 18 months and the bonuses were insane. Every story different, every story believed. Meanwhile, I wore the same 3 pairs of jeans, ate takeout from the same 4 places, and funneled every extra dollar into buying 2 more garages that were bleeding money for their previous owners. I never posted, never celebrated, never corrected a single lie. I just watched month after month as the brother who once cried on my floor built an entire kingdom on the foundation I paid for, brick by invisible brick, and then stood on the balcony waving to the crowd like he'd done it all himself. Tuesday morning, my phone lit up with 20 missed calls from Ethan. I waited until the 21st rang through before I finally pressed accept. "Tiffany, what is this?" His voice came out raw, almost unrecognizable. "The mortgage didn't hit. The bank left me a voicemail about a missed payment and late charges. Tell me you didn't do what I think you did." I let the silence stretch. "Are you listening to me?" he yelled. "This isn't funny. $4,200 today or I'm in real trouble. Fix it." Nothing from my end. He started breathing like he'd just run stairs. "You're actually going to sit there and say nothing after everything? You're killing me, Tiffany. Straight up killing me." One missed payment and the late fees start stacking, then the credit hit, then the notices. "Do you even understand what you're doing?" I took a slow sip of coffee. Ethan's volume climbed higher. "Fine. Keep playing your little power game. I'm getting in the truck right now and driving to Mom and Dad's. I'll tell them every single month you've been secretly paying for my life like I'm some homeless charity case. They'll finally see who the real failure in this family is." I set the mug down without a sound. He kept going, venom dripping. "You think you're clever? You think your quiet little life makes you better? You've always been jealous. Always. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly how pathetic you are the second this all comes out. Another pause, then the shift. His voice cracked and dropped to a whisper. Tiff, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean any of that. Just send the money. I'm begging you. I have 3 interviews lined up next week. Real ones, 6-figure offers. 1 more month and I'm good, I swear. I watched the dashboard for garage number 9 update in real time, 27,000 in gross revenue yesterday alone. Tiffany talked to me. He screamed again, rage swinging back full force. You owe me this. After everything I've been through, after everything our family put into me, you're my sister. Damn it. I spoke for the first time low and even. No, Ethan, I'm not doing it anymore. Dead quiet. Then the ugliest laugh I'd ever heard from him. Enjoy watching your only brother lose his house. Hope that feels good when you're alone in your shitty apartment forever. You're dead to me. Click. 10 minutes later, the texts flooded in. First came screenshots of old conversations where he'd thanked me, promises to forward them to Mom, Dad, our cousins, his entire work group. Then long apologies, paragraphs about the treehouse we built when we were kids. How he used to stick up for me in school. How scared he was to lose everything he'd worked for. Then straight insults again, calling me cold, bitter, a parasite who lived to ruin his life. I read every one. He called back 6 more times before lunch. Left voicemails that swung wild, one pure screaming one, just him crying for almost a minute. Straight one bargaining that he'd sign anything I wanted, one threatening to show up at my door if I didn't pick up. I let them pile up. By 3 o'clock, he was sending Bible verses about forgiveness and family. By 4, he was back to telling me I'd burn for abandoning blood. By 6, he promised double payback interest whatever I wanted, just one last transfer. I muted the entire thread, closed the phone, and signed the final paperwork for Garage 16. Closing was set for next Friday. Saturday evening, I walked into Mom and Dad's living room one last time. The air was thick the second I crossed the threshold. Ethan sat dead center on the ottoman, elbows on knees, face already blotchy from crying. Mom perched on the edge of the couch, spine, straight eyes, red-rimmed. Dad stood rigid beside the fireplace, arms folded so tight the veins stood out on his forearms. Ethan didn't wait for me to sit. She did it, he spat, voice cracking halfway through. 26 months she's been secretly paying my mortgage, and now she just cuts me off like I'm nothing. The bank left a message yesterday. 30 days and it's foreclosure. She's ending me right in front of you. Mom's gaze snapped to me, wide and searching. Dad's jaw locked harder. Ethan kept rolling, tears spilling faster. She let everyone think she was broke, scraping by while she was bankrolling my entire life behind your backs. And the minute I say one wrong thing, she pulls the plug. Tell them, Tiffany. Tell them how you've been playing puppet master this whole time. He spun toward me, practically screaming. Say it. I set my leather tote on the coffee table, pulled out the iPad, woke the screen, and turned it around. Harrison had built the perfect summary page, 15 live locations, real-time P&L net profit. After every expense, debt payment, and payroll, $82,411 for the month so far, still 10 days left. Below that, the latest appraisal package from the bank, total portfolio, value $5.8 million, equity column bright green, no personal debt attached except the revolving lines on the businesses themselves. The room went dead silent. Mom leaned forward so fast she almost slipped off the cushion, squinting at the numbers, then at me, then back at the numbers again. Dad's arms dropped like someone cut the strings. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Ethan stared at the screen, eyes bulging. That's impossible. Where the hell did you... I swiped slowly. Photos of each garage, branded signage, customer 5-star reviews, scrolling tax returns, insurance policies, bank balances in 7 figures. Dad finally managed to whisper, $5.8 million. Mom's hand flew to her chest. Tiffany. All this time, Ethan took one stumbling step closer, face draining of color. You've been hiding this, while you let me think. While you paid for everything and never said a word, I let the silence answer. Then Ethan dropped. Full knees to the carpet, hands clasped so hard his knuckles went white. Tiffany, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I was stupid. I was cruel. Please. 6 more months. 3. Just 1. I'll sign anything. I'll tell everyone the truth. I'll work for you whatever you want. Just don't let them take the house. Real tears poured down his cheeks. Snot mixing in shoulders, shaking with full-body sobs. Mom reached out like she wanted to touch his head, then froze halfway, hand trembling in midair. Dad just kept staring at the iPad, repeating the same 2 words under his breath like a broken record. 5.8, 5.8. Ethan crawled an inch closer on his knees. Please, sis. I'm begging you. I have nothing without that house. Nothing. You're all I have left. I looked down at him for a long, cold second. Then I spoke the only sentence I came to say. No more. I closed the cover, slid the iPad back into the tote, zipped it shut, and turned toward the door. Mom's voice cracked behind me. Tiffany, wait. Dad didn't move, didn't speak. Ethan's broken wail chased me down the hallway, raw and animal, echoing off the walls as I stepped onto the porch, pulled the door closed, and walked to my car without looking back. 9 weeks later, the sheriff's cruiser rolled to a stop in front of Ethan's house. 2 deputies got out, one holding the final writ of possession, the other carrying the locksmith's box. Ethan opened the door, barefoot, unshaven, wearing the same gray sweatpants he'd had on for 3 days. The lead deputy read the order aloud in a flat, practiced voice. Court-ordered foreclosure. Complete occupant has 10 minutes to vacate any belongings left behind, become property of the lender. Ethan tried to argue, voice hoarse, hands shaking. The deputy simply pointed to the signature line at the bottom, judge's stamp. No appeals remaining. Neighbors pretended to walk dogs that didn't need walking. Phones came out behind windshields. Someone started a live video titled "Big House on Willow Creek, Getting Locked Today." Ethan dragged 2 battered Louis Vuitton suitcases down the front steps, the same ones he'd once posted from a private jet. A 3rd bag split open on the driveway, golf shirts and cologne bottles scattered across the concrete. The deputies waited in silence while he stuffed everything back in. They changed the locks, slapped the bright orange foreclosure sticker across the front door, took a photo for the court file, and left. Ethan sat in the Raptor for 20 minutes staring at the house that wasn't his anymore, then drove the 43 minutes to Mom and Dad's with the radio off. They were waiting in the garage when he pulled in. No welcome, no open arms. Dad spoke first, voice like gravel. Basement is cleaned out. You can stay there. Rent $500 a month, cash first of every month. No excuses, no IOUs. Utilities are included. Groceries are not. Ethan opened his mouth. Mom cut him off without raising her voice. We met with the bankruptcy attorney yesterday. Chapter 7 is filed. Everything non-exempt is gone. We are not touching our retirement accounts. We are not co-signing anything, and we are not paying one more bill with your name on it. That part of our life is over. Ethan's face crumpled. Dad kept going. We changed the Wi-Fi password, removed your profile from every streaming service, and moved the liquor cabinet into the safe. You want to act like a 30-year-old man? Start right now. Ethan carried the 2 suitcases down the narrow basement stairs himself. The space smelled of mildew and old paint. A twin mattress leaned against the cinder block wall. No frame, no sheets. A single 60-watt bulb dangled from the ceiling on a frayed cord. The mini fridge still had his high school sticker on the door. Ethan's hands off. The only outlet was behind the water heater. That first night he slept in his clothes under a moving blanket he found in the corner. At 2:17 a.m., he sent me a photo of the cracked concrete ceiling with the caption, "Happy." Now I didn't reply. 4 days later, the trustee auctioned the Raptor online. It sold for $21,000 under the remaining loan. The deficiency judgment landed in his mailbox the following week. Mom and Dad never wavered. No grocery runs, no tank of gas, no $20 until payday. Ethan took an entry-level tech job at one of my garages, different county, $16 an hour. Every morning he clocked in wearing the navy polo with the company logo I own, spent 8 hours under other people's cars, and cashed a paycheck that came out of the same profit center that used to keep his old house afloat. The country club membership lapsed. The boat was repossessed at the marina. The custom golf clubs appeared on Marketplace for a fraction of what he paid. Mutual friends quietly unfollowed or blocked him once the full story spread through the neighborhood group chat. Mom set the basement lights on a timer off at 11 sharp. Dad removed the interior basement door handle so it only opened from the upstairs side. When Ethan asked for an advance on rent, Dad slid a printed list of warehouse and delivery jobs across the kitchen table circled in red pen. Evenings, he sat on the back steps smoking off-brand cigarettes, staring at the pool that used to host 30-person parties. Mom watched from the kitchen window for a minute, then closed the blinds. He tried calling me every Sunday for the first 4 weeks. I never answered. The voicemails went from rage to bargaining to silence. I deleted them all. By the end of week 9, the calls stopped completely. That was the last direct contact I ever had with what was left of Ethan's old life. I took the last flight to Tampa on a cloudless morning. The building sits on the northern tip of Clearwater Beach, white concrete and blue glass 15th floor corner unit. I had bought it cash 2 years earlier through a Delaware LLC. Nobody back home would ever connect to me. When the elevator doors opened directly into the foyer, I dropped my only carry-on, kicked off my shoes, and slid every balcony door wide open. Gulf air poured in thick with salt and heat, erasing every trace of Georgia the second it touched the walls. That same afternoon, I walked into a Verizon store, paid cash for a new iPhone, and ported my old number to a burner long enough to watch every contact go gray. Then I killed the old line for good. New number, new iCloud, new email, new plates on the car, already waiting in airport, long-term parking. Harrison handled the paperwork, mailing address changed to a private box in Clearwater, voter registration, switched to Florida the same day, social profiles either locked or deleted. By sunset, the old Tiffany Upton had vanished from every server my family could reach. They still tried. Mom started texting the dead number within 48 hours. Harrison forwards the screenshots when they bounce long paragraphs about how blind they were, how sorry they are, how they never once asked what I actually did for a living. Dad sent a single voice note that just repeated my name 3 times. Then nothing. I never pressed play. They drove to 3 different garages over the next month. Showed my old driver's license photo to managers who had strict instructions. No information, call security if they return. They left after the 3rd location without a word. I furnished the condo slowly, deliberately. White oak floors, pale linen, sectional teak dining table that seats 8, but will never be used for more than 2. The only thing on the walls is one framed photograph, me at 26, standing in the first dirty bay I ever bought, holding rusted keys, grease on my cheek, smiling like I already knew how the story would end. Mornings belong to the beach. I walk south before the umbrella renters arrive, sand still cool water, the color of money I never needed to flash. I run the numbers in my head without trying. 17 garages now. 2 more in escrow, projected net, crossing $1 million next fiscal year. The thought makes me smile, then I keep walking. Evenings, I sit on the balcony with whatever bottle is open, feet on the railing, watching the horizon swallow the sun in slow motion. The phone stays inside on airplane mode. No notifications, no ghosts, no second chances. Harrison sends a one-page summary every 30th day, portfolio value 6.4, and climbing debt 0, cash reserves north of 7 figures. He asked once carefully if I wanted any family updates. I told him no. He never asked again. I still receive forwarded messages. Mom on Christmas Eve. Dad on what would have been my 35th birthday. Ethan once threw our cousin's Instagram asking if I would at least hear him out for 5 minutes. Harrison deletes them all before I ever see the preview. That is the last favor I allow. People here know me as the quiet woman who owns a bunch of auto shops up the coast, tips 20% in cash, keeps her circle small, and never talks about where she came from. That is the entire backstory they will ever get. Years of being invisible taught me the only lesson that matters: real family is not defined by blood. It's defined by who bothers to look up when you walk into the room. Everyone else is just a stranger who happened to share a last name. I don't hate them. Hate is work. I simply removed them the way you remove a tumor, clean cut, no hesitation, no follow-up appointments. The Gulf keeps doing what it has done for millions of years, rolling in, pulling back, erasing every footprint the second it's made. And every morning when I open those sliders, the air is new, the light is new, and the life on the other side of the glass belongs entirely to me.